Alright gamers, welcome back to another episode of Game Master's Dungeon. Today we are going to talk about being a GM, a DM, storyteller, whatever it is. Okay, what does that entail? Okay, we've talked about the player base. Okay, we've talked about how to develop the group, the different types of players in the group. Now I want to talk about how to deal with those types of players, but first we're going to talk about what you need to do as a GM to be successful. Once again, this is all opinionative. Like, this is not some textbook that I've read and I'm preaching to you. This is just the stuff that I've learned over the course of 17 years of gaming. 17, maybe even 18. Started when I was 15, 33, so about 18 years.
Yeah, mine's been 14.
Yeah.
I started when I was 10.
Yeah. So the first thing you need to do as a game master is find a system that you want to use to run your game. You want to think of an idea. Okay, what would be really cool? Oh yeah, space zombies and giant robots fighting aliens from underwater. Okay, cool. Is Dungeons and Dragons going to give you the tools you need to run that? No. No, it's not.
Riffs might.
Riff's good. GURPS. A good one would be like Big Eyes Small Mouth. It's anime based, right? So you're going to come up with the game you want to run. Your idea of a story. So come up with your setting. Is it medieval, futuristic, present day? Is it something completely different? Some kind of alien world, whatever. So you've got your setting. What's going to happen in your story? Get your paper out, okay? Space zombies and giant robots fighting aliens from underwater. Let's stick with that. What's going to happen, okay? Because you got to think, so you're going to get some players that are going to involved in playing your game. So just quickly come up with, it's almost like writing a movie script, your plot points, right? The beginning, the middle, and the end, okay?
Start with a prologue, too.
Yeah.
How you open it up.
Yeah, because you're going to want to, because obviously you're going to talk to your players, hey man, I'm really thinking about this cool idea. We're going to play this system. Okay, what do you guys think? All right, well, what are you playing? Here's my story. Zombies from outer space and giant robots, and they fight giant aliens from underwater.
Well, I'm talking it's the first game session, you all sit down, you have your characters made, you have all your stuff.
Well, this is way before that though.
Okay.
This is you like maybe you don't even own the book yet. You don't own any dice.
This is prep work.
This is the prep work, right? Because if what I like to do, hey guys, I got this really cool idea for a game. Okay, so you're gonna come up with a basic synopsis of what your game is gonna be about. Okay, the things that are gonna happen, your setting, and you're gonna talk to your players. Okay, this is what I want to do. This is the kind of the time frame. It's futuristic, right? We're zombies from outer space. And we use giant robots and we fight aliens, right? And then you kind of go into some more detail, right? Is everybody going to be involved in that? Is everybody like, yeah, dude, I want to kill some aliens and giant robots as a zombie? If people are just like, don't fret, right? If your players are like, well, maybe, don't be afraid to take some hints or some ideas from your players. I'll be like, oh, Brian, this is cool, but what if you did this? Oh, get your notes out, okay? Come up with some stuff, right? Once you get everybody involved, okay, everybody's like, yeah, I want to play, okay? Then go into a little more detail. Maybe start come up with some NPCs, some storylines, names of places, things like that, because you want to be prepared. You don't have to write out all the dialogue and all that other stuff, right? A lot of that's just kind of on the fly based on what the players say. But really come up with a solid foundation of your game, like who's in it, what you need to do, and how it's going to end. You always want to have a beginning, middle, and end planned. Mm-hmm. Don't just be like, well, we're just going to play till we're done. Well, that's, because maybe some people, a lot of groups don't get on and take off and just go with a campaign and just play and play and play. There are groups that do. Fantastic. Love it. Most of our groups, though, we play 5 or 6 game sessions. I've got to kind of plan everything in 5 or 6 game sessions to get to the end. And then we can potentially be like, all right, maybe we'll do a, part 2 or whatever, season 2 or whatever, okay? So now you got your players involved. So now as a GM, you need to get with every character or every player. individually. Okay, we talked about this before, individually. So I would sit down with CJ. But all right, CJ, here's my thing, right? We already talked about this. You're excited. Yeah, Brian, okay, I want to play this. Get your game system out. Get your rule book out. Okay? He sits across from me. Okay, here's the different characters, like the different classes or archetypes or however the game is set up, right? Let him look through, okay, I want to play this and this and this. Really talk him through the character. Okay, so you want to be the fighter zombie, right? Or the healer zombie, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe he's just a combat medic.
He's a combat medic zombie in a giant robot. Okay, so why do you want to play this? Okay, this is cool. Come up with some story for the character. That's if you like that kind of stuff. You can just throw characters together and play. This is coming from, we want story-driven stuff. I want character development. I want people cry when stuff happens in the story. Like, no. I want people to just be like, just standing up like, Excelsior! You know, when they get that, you know, when that awesome thing happens. Not necessarily by the roll of the dice, but the best part as a GM is when you give them like a plot twist or something happens and you take everybody by surprise.
It's just,
and then they're just like, oh, I want to see more. Like when it's like, okay, guys, it's time to quit. No, Brian, give us 10 more minutes. That's what you're looking for. So each player develop their character, right? Get you know, as a GM, print off character sheets. I like to print off character sheets.
yeah.
I give it to them. I provide the stuff. You know, I do a lot of the legwork. They fill it out, right? You work some story, you talk about skills. If you need to make alterations to the rules to better fit that character, do so. Make sure it's clear and cut. Get everybody's character together, okay? And now this is not like, okay, tomorrow let's play. So we're going to take all those characters and all of that backstory and all of that history and all that stuff. And then you're going to sit down with all of those people and where are those people fit in? How do they fit into your story?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Like, obviously, you want to kind of build a story around the characters. So look at the beginning of your story. How is everybody going to come together? How is everybody going to fit together like a puzzle? How is everybody going to come together for this one cause?
Yeah.
Right? All right? We're going to fight aliens from underwater. Okay? Giant aliens. How are we going to fight? Obviously, the big alien attack. We're all there in our mechs, or whatever you call it, the robots. We all fight together. Hey, let's fight all the monsters, or whatever, all the aliens. Okay? Fantastic. And then you build the rest of the story around these characters, their development. You know, look at their backstories, look at their histories. Because most players want a piece of attention. We're going to talk about that more here in a little bit. So you've got your story, you build it around them. Okay? Keeping with what you want to happen in your story. You build it around them. They kind of drive the story. Obviously, if they start to take a hard left, sometimes you're just going to be like, well, you got to kind of be, as a GM, you got to be forceful sometimes. You got to push them. Yeah.
You're like the shepherd.
You're like the shepherd, herding the sheep.
Yep.
You know, you got your dog. Get your dog on them. Okay? But don't just be like, no, you can't do that. We're going to do plan B. Okay? Be very flexible.
And sometimes as a GM, you have to work on the fly too.
Yep. Like if they go this way,
yeah,
then you can just be like, all right, cool, yeah, we're doing this, and then something happens that story-wise turns them back on track where you want them to go secretly.
Because you have no idea what the player is gonna do. You know, you're not psychic. You don't have that ability. You have to be able to work just in a jam, pretty much.
Yep.
Almost.
One of the things you're going to learn as a GM. There's a lot of ad-lib. There's a lot of just on the fly. Oh, you know, the clown is doing this. How am I going to, wrangle him back into the group and get us going again? But that's obviously that's going to be a different video, I think, of really, because we could dedicate a whole hour to talking about how you deal with players and their decisions.
Oh, yeah.
But this would just be like, okay, story, system, okay. So we've picked our system. We've got our synopsis. We've got our players made. Now you got your first couple of episodes or whatever you call it done. You sit down at the table the first time, okay? I would definitely go to my 10 Commandments of Gaming. Take a look at that as a GM. It's not like it's not set in stone. It didn't come down from a mountain, but it's some really good stuff that maybe you want to just let your players know. Hey, this is kind of how I'm going to run my game. The players need to know how you're going to run your game. House rules. We talked about that in the previous video. If you've got house rules, everybody needs to know the house rules.
Yeah, establish them the day one.
A good one that we always use, if a dice rolls onto the floor, like you roll the dice and it goes on the floor and you don't catch it and it hits the floor, it's a miss or a fail, or you do minimal damage or whatever, right? That's just something that we like to do. Because, I mean, like, look at this table. The table is huge. Look at it. If you can't roll one dice on this table and keep it there, what's the chance of your character hitting or doing whatever it is he's trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So, tell everybody house rules. Make sure everybody has a basic understanding of the game rules so they kind of understand how their characters work. You want to make sure everybody understand how their characters work. I hate taking every 5 minutes, hey, wait, I got this skill. What does this skill do again? Most of the time, you're only going to have the one rule book that you as the GM are going to have. Okay?
I mean, unless you have, like our group, we have dedicated players that have their own books, that bring their own books.
But let's do it from this scenario where the GM has just picked up this book and maybe it's your first time. Or maybe you've played before and you're coming back, you're doing a new system. You got the one book, now the GM's got to stop. Look through the book. Okay, this skill does this. Okay, cool? Yeah, write it down. Okay, go on again. Every 5 minutes. Make sure they understand their characters, understand how their characters play, they understand your house rules, they have a vague understanding of the game rules, they understand what your game is and the feel. Okay? That's really most of the work you've got to do, like prep work, preparation. Okay? Now let's talk about we're in game. All right? How do you start your game? Everybody starts it differently. I like to do introductions. I'm a big fan of adding music now to my games because it adds that extra level. It gets you like a soundboard. You can download some free free music online. Not like that free stolen stuff, but like those ones that are like copyright free, can be used for this, or even if you got like a CD, your favorite group, and you're like, oh yeah, this song would be so good as like a fight scene, right? You can do that at the home as long as you're not recording it and trying to make money off of it. Don't violate any copyright things doing that.
Yeah.
So get your introduction right. Make a good description of what's going on. Be very descriptive with like the scenes and the characters and things like that. Because the more detail you give, the more people have to listen to you to really understand what's going on. Because if you're just like, all right, guy walks in the room. What do you do?
What does the guy look like?
What does he look like? Is he hostile? Does he have a weapon drawn?
What's the surrounding of the room? Like the room that we're in, what does it look like?
Yeah. So be as descriptive as possible. The less questions that the players have to ask you, the more you can just go. You can just flow with the game. Okay. Be descriptive on your settings. Even your sounds. Sometimes it's tough when you're just starting out. You're like, oh, this is so much to think about. But just try to cut down on the number of player questions. If they can't visualize, you want your players to visualize everything that's going on. That's why pen and paper is so good, because all you got is pen, paper, dice, imagination. Okay.
A way that we did like we did a dungeon and we had the rooms drawn out on the map and all that. My dad actually used pieces from HeroQuest, like bookshelves and chairs and stuff like that.
See, that's acceptable if you have access to that stuff. Use game mats, use those 3D objects, whatever's going to make your game enhanceable, but don't bring so much stuff that you're going to be like, okay, let me get my pieces, and you're fumbling around and all this other stuff.
And that also, that ties into prep work, Make sure you have, okay, this is for this room, and, you have your map drawn out for the DM to look at, for the game master to look at, and, okay, so this room, this, setup done.
Yep. You're like, oh, you enter the dungeon. It is very, it's dark, and you light your torch, and then before you see. Then you can pull out your map, and you can pull out your stuff. Okay, boom. All right, this is what you see. You can talk about the sounds and the smells and the sights and all that other stuff.
How things look like, decaying bookshelves.
Because you never know. Something might be important in one of those objects on that bookshelf. Something might be important. If you're not descriptive enough, people are just going to be like, okay, it's just a bookshelf. Because you don't want to be like, the bookshelf looks really important.
You don't want to just like give them the answer. You want to make them, role play it out.
Yeah, you want to give them ample opportunities to figure it out. It's almost like a riddle. Give them the opportunity to figure it out, but don't just give it to them. Obviously, if they're struggling, which some people do, some people struggle. You just like
it just happens.
Just look at the bookshelf. Whisper in their ear, right? So. And then, so as you're going through the game, you're gonna meet those different types of players. You know, so if you've got the rules monger, you've got the noob, you've got the ass, you've got the power gamer, you got the clown. Like everybody's kind of doing their thing. As a GM, do not be afraid to just be like, okay, guys, we're gonna take 5 minutes, right? We're gonna cool out, we're gonna chill out, and we're gonna pick it up here in a minute. Go up, go to the bathroom, get a drink, go smoke, whatever you do. Okay, get everybody just okay. Okay, come back. So before you start, hey guys, okay, this is what was going on. This is really distracting from the game. Do you guys want to continue? I'm gonna let them make those kind of decisions. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if they don't want to continue, it's their loss. Okay. So and then be ready to make rule changes on the fly, like I've talked about before. If a situation comes up and a rule is kind of ambiguous or doesn't really cover it, like just as written,
word
right?
Word, yeah.
Just if you make decisions, make it fair, potentially for everyone. Don't make a decision against CJ that then you don't make the same decision against the other guy in the same scenario. Like that's not going to be fair. You got to make the same decision. You got to make the same change. It applies to everybody in every situation.
And then for stuff like that, it's always good to have blank paper. Like, okay, we didn't quite get this rule. Let's write that rule down and how we changed it. That way, we don't get confusing differences.
Yeah, we don't have
between other players.
3 game sessions later, we don't have conflictions on what you changed. Do encourage your players to bring spare paper so they can maybe take notes about the game. Right?
About the story.
If they meet a certain character, if they're given a quest, or if they find an item, make sure they're taking that notes down because they need to do their due diligence
instead of having
their character. Yeah. Instead of being like, hey, what did we get out of that chest 3 days ago, or 3 sessions ago?
Or like, hey, what was that guy's name that we talked to? Or that way they have the knowledge right there in front of them of what they did, so they can just be like, oh yeah, we got that quest from so-and-so at so-and-so tavern or whatever.
See, like a good example, so when I was running my Final Fantasy-based Pathfinder game, so I would start with the crystal theme. I would play that on my little Bluetooth speaker. I'd be, all right, everybody shut up. For 4 minutes, let's listen to this. We'd listen to it, and everybody would just kind of get into the Final Fantasy feel. Then I'd be like, okay, all right, guys, what happened last time? And then they would have to tell me what happened over the last couple of games. If there's any conflictions or somebody missed something, oh, okay, so you met Sally at the bar. That you fill that in for them, make sure that they've got it. Mm-hmm. Okay, don't be afraid to be like, hey guys, maybe take some notes on this part coming up here. There's going to be a lot of stuff I'm going to throw at you. Take some notes for your reference, and then plan your game out with X amount of sessions in mind, because like I said before, don't just be like, let's just start and just play, because then your kind of story just kind of stales over the time if you're just trying to stretch it out. Have your points. Maybe each plot point, right, is a game session. You want to accomplish 1 point through your plot as you're going through your story, right? Plan it out for 6, 10, whatever's good for you, right? So there's a constant progression. There's stuff going on. Stuff's changing. The characters learning new stuff. Things are happening to the characters. Their characters are developing in a certain way. So now the next part. So we talked about the different types of players, right? The ass, the clown, and all that stuff. Every player is going to want something different out of their experience. They may not even know what it is. Sometimes I just want to come hang out with my friends, but then they're going to get to playing. They're going to want something to happen to their character. They're going to have aspirations. They're going to have goals. They're going to have visions. Okay, what they want to happen. Obviously, not everybody's going to get everything they want, because you just can't. Because CJ is going to want a bunch of stuff. I can't just have a whole session about CJ. I got to give everybody a little bit of what they want. Some people might want a lot more combat. Other players might just be fine with a whole story session. All they do is they roll dialogue dice or whatever, that kind of stuff.
It's a pie, and you're giving a piece of pie to each player.
Yeah, try to give every player a little bit of what they want. If you're unable to, according to what you got going on in your story, make sure like in another game maybe that player gets a bigger piece of the pie. We do a whole game session where there's little combat, there's a lot of story and a lot of mystery and clue finding and research and artifacts and all that other stuff. That guy over there is probably going to get kind of bored. He's going to be like, well, I'll search the bookcase, right? So maybe next time, okay, you found the item now. Now you get attacked by the guys that want it. Okay, now you're going to have a lot more combat in the next one. He's going to be like, yeah. Then the other guys got their story from before, and they did their mystery portion and all this other stuff. You can't make everybody happy, but at least make them happy enough to where that type of player doesn't come out, where the clown isn't over there joking around, the rule monger's not over there just spouting rules. The power gamer is not just be like, I could kill everything, because it's all about an investment piece. If everybody's invested in the game, they're more likely to just kind of sit and listen and interact properly than left to their own devices. So really, that's kind of like the overview of being a GM. Like, it's one of them things. Let's just recap. Okay, first part, preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Pick your system. Develop your synopsis of your story. Like what's the setting, what's the feel, what's the genre. Okay.
And then let your players know.
Yep. Then get all your players together. Hey, this is what I'm thinking about, right? Talk it over with them. Get everybody invested. Then you want to get the characters made. Take the characters with you. Stick them in your game binder, which is every GM should have. They should have a GM's binder. Got all their notes and their maps and characters. Make copies if you have to, right? Take a couple of weeks, a week or so. Incorporate, make the story around the characters. Don't just take the characters and be like, whoa, throw them in that bad pot of chili. It's going to taste bad for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Start your game. Declare all your house rules. Make sure everyone understands their characters. Basic understanding of the game. Be ready then. After that, it's all kind of just shooting from the hip, right? Because, the players are going to do their things how they think their character should, or the player personality is going to come through and just screw it all up. You got to be willing to work on the fly. You've got to be dynamic as a game master. You can't just be like, well, you know what? You have to go talk to the cleric. You can't go talk to the bar wench. You got to go talk to the cleric to get this. Then you have to go see the king and all this other stuff. You got to be able to work. If they're like, well, maybe we want to go spend a couple of nights in town and party. Well, all right, cool. Let's party. Okay, then throw encounters at them. They're going to force them back in line of where you need to go. Because then it's going to give those people some of what they want. They're going to get some story. They're going to get some combat. They're going to get some mystery, some intrigue. Have an end to that campaign set. Have an end. I can't stress this enough. I've tried to do so many where I'm just like, we'll just kind of play and I'll kind of think of it as I go. No, I need an end. What's the end game? What's going to happen? Because then as each game goes on, you're working toward that. Okay? Obviously, you're going to get ideas for your game. Like that Final Fantasy one, oh man.
That one was good.
I had so much stuff planned, and then some of the stuff I just threw it away because it wasn't working. People weren't biting it. They weren't going for it. Okay, let's come up with something new. So in between your game sessions, look at what's going on. Look at where people are going. Look at what they're doing and what they want. Make adjustments to it, right? Really, and then that's about it. And then have fun. The biggest part is have fun. All right? Like it's not a job. I don't know. Would I like to be paid to play D&D or Warhammer or something? Yeah. I don't know. It's tough.
But it's. I would like to be paid to do that with people that I know and that I enjoy playing with. If it's just a random, Joe Schmo,
or like you go down to the local game store and they're just say, hey guys, you need a cleric for your group. Hey, let's sit down.
Then it's just not that job wouldn't be appealing. But other than that, if it's you and your buddies and you're all playing and you're all technically working or whatever, then it'd be fantastic.
40 hours a week of D&D.
That might.
If you have comments, this is a good place for comments down below. Let's talk about that. Like if you were paid, $15 an hour, 40 hours a week just to sit around and play D&D. I don't know who would ever pay that. Maybe if I was rich, I would just pay people to just come play. I don't know. But yeah, like, would you do that? That'd be fantastic conversation to talk about. You go home to your wife or your whatever. Like, how was work, honey? Man, those goblins just, damn, they just swarmed me. I lost so many hit points. She's like, all right, you nerd.
It'd be fantastic.
It would be. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. So remember, GM is a job in itself. You don't get paid. But if you want to provide entertainment for your players, it's a job. You got a lot of work to do. Don't be afraid of it, though. It is a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding in the end. So until next time, happy gaming. Take care. Follow us on Facebook.com/GameMastersDungeon. We're going to be putting up some new content. We're going to be doing painting pictures, painted models. We're going to be pictures from battle reports and things we're doing. We're going to be putting all the new content. We'll put links over there to direct you back to the YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about stuff we want to do in the future. Maybe get some feedback, get some comments on that. To kind of maybe put out what you guys want to see. Obviously, don't be afraid to put comments down below. So we'll see you again in the Game Master's Dungeon.